We go live to the Group 77 Summit's venue in Havana with our colleague Gladys Quesada, who has the latest on today's paramount event for the Global South. Hello, Gladys.
Hello, Adeneb, and yes, we keep covering this summit of the G77 and China. So far, many speakers have addressed the floor and have taken a place in the forum, but we wanted to talk about several topics and several events of today and yesterday, because one of the main speakers of today and the list of speakers is covering Africa and the Caribbean. This morning we had the interventions of South Africa as the foreign minister of that nation called for guaranteeing equal rights and equal access to development and science in all genders. In this case, she said that science and education must be opened and must be in access for girls and women. Also, Zimbabwe called for more domestic produced technologies and domestic enhanced science, and also to find the solutions in the local knowledge and the know-how of all the South and the Global South countries. Also, he commented on the scientific development of his nation and said that Zimbabwe have developed over 500 patents regarding scientific developments and other crafts. Also, he called for this promotion of local scientific knowledge. Somalia also stressed that it is a country under a political crisis and finds the grip of terrorism, but even though it has broadened the access to internet as a way to carry on with the science democratization. And Cameroon called for more technology applied to medicine and also applied to the health sector. But this is not all what has happened today, as the president of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, the host president, also held a series of bilateral meetings with leaders of international bodies and also with leaders of other countries, as this is one of the ways to hold parallel events, parallel summits during the summit and during the main gathering, I beg your pardon there. So he had an exchange with the Foreign Affairs Minister of the Kingdom of Bahrain. And there they tried to gain concord and to find the willingness, the common willingness to enhance bilateral ties and to boost the economic and trade relations between the both nations. Also with Rebecca Grispan. Rebecca Grispan is the General Secretary of the United Nations Trade Agency. And they had this meeting and went on education, went on new and fair ways of trade and funding science and technology, and also their willingness, both of Cuba, the G77, and also this agency of the United Nations, to find common ground to enhance the 2030 agenda in the continent and to find ways to accelerate, because one of the main recognitions of this summit is that all the underdeveloped countries are behind to get to the 2030 goals of development and sustainable development. Also, the president of Rwanda met with the host president Miguel Díaz-Canel, and they commented or were on the bilateral ties and the good relationships between the two countries, as Cuba and Rwanda have a long story of cooperation in matters of education, higher education, medicine, and the cooperation in matters of health. And also the historical leader of the Cuban Revolution, Raúl Castro Ruz, had other bilateral meetings and bilateral gatherings with other leaders during this summit. That's to say, Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Alicia Bárcena, the Foreign Minister of Mexico, and the presidents of Laos, Mongolia, and also with other heads of state from different countries and the representatives of China yesterday. Those are the main developments for today, and I wanted to tell you also in this report that the summit had a schedule that must end. The closing ceremony was scheduled for today at 2 p.m. local time, but obviously the summit is going to extend as many speakers are still asking for a moment to address the forum. And also, as many of them are handing over their declarations and their statements by hand, written by hand, because they need to speed up the pace and to close the main official and the main gatherings for today. But the summit is going to extend, is going to prolong in time. So we are expecting more speakers, and we are expecting also the issuing of the final declaration and other main events of this G77 and China Summit.
And what has been discussed regarding the summit of 2024?
Well, so far, many of the heads of state and high officials and representatives that have addressed this summit, they have shown entire and full support for Uganda as the main venue and as the pro-tempore president of the G77 and China for next year, 2024. And they also have said that they have optimistic prospects for the 2024 summit in January to be held in Kampala, Uganda. They also have said that the final draft, the final report to be issued this afternoon or maybe tonight is gonna be one of the bases and the ideological points and the guidelines of this next year under the rule of Uganda, under the presidency of Uganda. So that's to say, Cuba is going to hand over the presidency, the pro-tempore presidency of the bloc, to Uganda, and all the member countries have expressed their support for that government and for Kampala to hold the top post in this bloc.
Thank you, Gladys, for information for the latest updates from the summits.
Thanks to you, Ari.